Welcome back to Chatter at Content Marketing World. I am Jenny Dietrich, and now I have the esteemed John Hall with me.
That's very nice of you to say.
How are you?
Doing well. It's been an exciting year.
Yeah, I would say so. There's a new baby, business, startup, like all sorts of things going on.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. It's keeping us busy.
Good. So you and I met officially in these very halls several years ago.
We did.
When Andy Crestodina said, "How do the two of you not know each other?"
Andy is a very nice connector.
He's a very nice connector, that is true. And then I noticed that you were guest blogging on other people's blogs and not ours. So I said, we could use some of your really great content as well.
Yeah, happy to. It's a good site, so why not?
Thank you. So, calendar.com.
Yep.
Tell us.
It's been an exciting time. You kind of mentioned, we've had a lot happen in the last year. I exited out of Influence & Co. and one of the things that we looked at, it was super amicable. Kelsey's running it now, and so it was a great kind of exit for me. But what's most exciting is that it gets you reflecting on what's important in your life and what you should do. And a lot of people struggle, whether it's content marketers here or just in general. People are like, what am I meant to do, or what kind of difference in the world can I make? And so I sat down and actually looked at things that I was passionate about. One of them was time and how we spend it.
Yep.
I became a lot happier as a person when I made better use of my time, whether it's balance with family and friends or just being around people that I cared about and enjoyed being around, and it all is how we manage our time. So ended up looking into developing a time management software and scheduling system where my business partner and I, we saw a big opening with Google, Microsoft, Apple over on one side, and then you have these 20 or 30 tools on the other, and we were like, why don't we be this kind of in-between that actually helps communicate between the big three that people kind of struggle with communicating across, in addition to bringing some of the tools we think are the most valuable and features that are going to make it so there's one place that you go for your calendar, and ended up acquiring the domain calendar.com. And
I saw that and was like, how did he do that?
Really it comes down to relationships and helping people. The guy who owned it was somebody who was really connected in the domain space, and my business partner helped him out in a few ways, and I think that I've just learned that business is not just about money, and it's not about, it's not about greed always, it's about forming connections, and this guy, I think, believed in what we could do, and so it made it for a good kind of opportunity for us.
That's so funny, because when I was preparing questions, one of them was, how the heck did you get calendar.com? That's pretty impressive.
Well, my business, I'd love to take credit for that. Specifically, my business partner is amazing at helping people and forming really good relationships, and then he just made a relationship with the right person, and made it a really good deal that allowed us to gain control and access without putting ourselves in a bad position where a lot of startups do. They spend a lot too much money over big things like that, but we structured something that was really beneficial for both parties.
Amazing. So are you sitting in between the calendar app and a scheduling app?
So the way we kind of look at it is that you obviously have Google, Microsoft, Apple that are used by the majority of people, but the problem is my wife was on Apple Calendar, I was on Google, or Google, my business partner's on Outlook, and you don't have a central place where those are actually communicating together. And then at the same time, I had big issues where, for example, I travel a lot, so a lot of times I'm on the, I'm on in an Uber or Lyft going somewhere, and I can't take notes down.
Right.
So it's I'll have 5 of those calls, and the next thing you know, what happened on my first one, what happened on my second.
Right.
So our tool will actually call in and record it, transcribe it, store it in the invite. And so you can always look back and be like, oh, here's what happened during that call. And so I think some of these needs we just looked at and we said, okay, so we want to be a really good calendar resource for these big players. We don't want to go and take, substitute them. They're big players. We want to play and communicate across it. But we do want to bring the features that we think that people find most valuable, and that's what we've been building out, and it's just worked out well, where at first we were 100 signups a month, where it's okay, things are trickling in. Now this last month we did 4,000, and that's just in 6 months.
Good for you.
It's been exciting.
That's great. So from a content marketing perspective, time efficiencies, obviously, but what else? What are some of the other benefits of
Yeah, I mean, so what I'm talking about on Thursday, it's kind of funny how this came about because it's this term that we've started calling, it's our ROIT. So it's a return on investment of our time. And content marketers specifically, and marketers just in general, they're very limited on time and resources. Yes. A lot of times a content person's supposed to be writing, it's supposed to be editing, it's supposed to be doing social. I was just talking to someone who legitimately has like 6 different positions. And you're like, how do you get anything done? And they're like, I don't really.
Right.
And so I think that the more you are actually self-aware of your time, how you spend it, who you spend it with, then you can actually be a lot more you can perform a lot better at your job, because like something I'm talking about tomorrow, like time-intensive tasks. Like somebody might say, hey, I'm signing up for a podcast. Now, I like podcasts, but the time that it takes to invest in a podcast is significant.
Right.
So you have to know, that in comparison to the opportunity cost of my time doing something that's, let's say, less time intensive, like let's say writing up a blog post and posting it on, your site, and then also getting it distributed.
Yep.
Maybe you're outsourcing some of that where you have to look at it and say, wow, these tasks are not time intensive, so I have to value those. And a lot of times we just value budget and we value dollars. Mm-hmm. And I think what I'm going to try to do, at least tomorrow, is I'm going to try and look at the data that we've got from Calendar and say, hey, like guys, like honestly, you can spend your time a lot more valuable where you can spend it on different things and think about your time first and not just the money. And I think that's a lot of times content marketers aren't able to do that because they're letting budget drive performance rather than actually doing what's best for their time and the company. And hopefully I can reach some senior people so that they can kind of be better about how they manage their staff.
So does it also allow you to look at your data, your individual data, and make it easier for you to say no to the things that you should say no to?
Yeah, it's one of my slides. If you come to it tomorrow, you'll see it's. I kind of make a joke out of it, but I ended up tracking, or it tracks as analytics, and it says you're spending this much time with this person, this much time with this person, this much time with this person.
Interesting.
And I put as a joke. This isn't like true, but it's a funny example. But I'll put like Jay Baer, Andrew Davis, and some of the people, and I'll be like, why am I spending time with these jokers? And like Ann Handley's at the bottom, and I'm like, and I should be spending more time with Ann.
Right.
And so, but as funny as it is, like, unless you're somewhat self-aware of how you're spending your time, we gravitate towards things we like instead of what's most valuable.
Yeah.
But when I actually looked at my time and I saw the 5 people I spend the most time with, I was like, why? Like that actually is like just because I enjoy being with, but they have no bearing on my performance. They have no like contributions to that. It's just people I like being around. And unfortunately, in business and as a marketer, we can't just think of what we like. Yeah. We have to think about what's most valuable to the company, what's going to bring the best out of us, what's going to give us as much output as possible for the time that's invested in it. And that's something where I'm starting to understand that a lot more than ever, and I realized like the last 10 years of my life I could have been so much more productive. I could have spent a lot more time with my family and kids. I could have done a lot of things better, and so I want to kind of share that with others, and kind of, I mean, if we can create a tool that helps people be a little more self-aware of that, it's a huge win.
If I'm a junior or mid-level marketer and I'm sitting in your session tomorrow, what tips do you have for me when I don't really control my tasks?
I think that, like, from the standpoint of, like, a lot of people feel like they don't have control, when in reality, they do have more control than they think. Bosses and leaders and managers just want to see results. So the more you can work on yourself and actually show and lead by example, because in reality, even like crappy managers, if they see somebody performing and having a lot of output, they're going to listen to that person a little more in most cases. And those are the people that raise the kind of corporate ladder. And so I would say is that don't let a barrier like a crappy manager prevent you from being as productive as you can be with your time, with your resources. A lot of times you won't think that you have resources to form the relationships, but I'll give you an example of a relationship with LinkedIn started really early because one of their entry-level people, all I simply did was write a letter, or it was an email that said, hey, to some senior executives at LinkedIn, I said, hey, I really valued my experience with this person. They were great, had an awesome experience. If you have people like this, your LinkedIn's gonna, I mean, this was years ago, LinkedIn was already doing well, but I gave that feedback. That's simply just taking the time to write feedback to reward somebody for doing great work.
Right.
It seems simple and nice and very basic, but in reality, when it came to down the road, when LinkedIn was doing a new project, I was one of the names to call because this woman remembered me. And it got us involved in one of their, bigger products with their head of product and things like that. And so that helped us create opportunities that we would have never had,
Right.
and a huge output from me. So like as simple as it is, a middle person might be like, well, what can I do? What can I do to increase relationships? I'm not nobody. I'm like this. That's not true. In reality is that if you do certain things, you can put yourself in a position to create and generate opportunities that nobody else would have been able to. The idea that LinkedIn picked a firm in Columbia, Missouri to work with in a way is crazy.
It's awesome,
and,
though.
But you can do these slight changes in the habits of how you treat relationships, how you spend your time, and these opportunities will come.
So calendar.com, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn. Is there a free trial?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So that's where people should go and check it out.
Yeah, check it out. And like honestly, my ask is just be a user and give feedback. Like this at this point, like my business partner, it's like it's got to do well, but like we're passionate about actually like. If we can truly help a mass amount of people save their time, their energy, like if somebody is working 50 hours or 60 hours a week, we can take them to 40.
That's amazing.
It's amazing because then that's 10, 20 extra hours they can spend with their family, their friends.
Right.
And I think at this point, at a certain point in everyone's life, they need to look at how they can contribute back to society in different ways.
Yep.
And this was just one where like, I thought about joining the nonprofit, doing different things like this, but I like the profit world, but this is a way where it's like, okay, if we can truly nail this thing down, we can actually, I think, make a big difference in a lot of people's lives. So,
well, John Hall, thank you so much for being here. It's so good to see you. Write some content for us.
all right, thank you for having me.